Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches English Language. In today's video, we are going to be focusing on creative writing, in particular, how to craft structural features that are really going to wow your examiner. I've got 5 useful tips that you can use in any piece of writing, whether that's an exam or for coursework. So let's get started. So before I start giving you the top 5 structural features to use in your writing, I just wanted to talk to you about what we really mean by structure in your creative writing. So if you have a little look at this image I have in front of you, and I've labelled it whole text versus sentence level. So if you imagine your piece of creative writing, the whole text structure is this. It's the whole project, it's the house, yeah? And so if you think to yourself, things like your paragraphs are these walls here, it's the very makeup of it. So whole text structure is things like you know, what order you're going to put your paragraphs in, whether you're going to mirror the beginning and the end of your piece or have a really stark contrast between the two. It's the big bits of your text. And sentence level structure is the little bits. It's the balconies, it's the windows, it's the how am I going to construct these sentences to have an impact. So that might be about using things like repetition or sentence variation. So the 5 tips that I'm going to give you today are a bit of a mixture, mainly sentence level, but I do have one good whole text structural tip for you as well. So let's start there. So structure tip number 1 is thinking about the order of events in your story. So you can go linear from beginning to end, or you can employ what we call a cyclical structure. And this is a really good way of showing your examiner that you actually have thought out your piece, because if you know where you're ending, you can begin there. So you can actually begin with the climax, with the dramatic moment at the end, and then flash back and tell the story of how you got to that point. You've got to be bang on with your timing, so you really have to know where your stages are to make sure you can do it in your 45 minutes. But it is very effective. It hooks the reader in from the moment that they start reading, because of course you're starting at the sort of terrifying bit at the end, and then you go back and offer an explanation of how you got there and then your resolution. So that's one useful tip. That you don't have to do it that way, but it's a possibility. Structure tip, oh sorry, I didn't give you the title. Cyclical structure versus linear. Structure tip 2 is the one sentence paragraph. A colleague of mine many moons ago told me some advice that I have always passed on to my students. If in doubt, chunk it up, because one of the worst things you can do in creative writing is forget to paragraph it completely. So always make sure that you're using paragraphs. If you're not sure how to paragraph or where to paragraph, do have a little look at my video on tip-top paragraphing that will give you a hand. But this is more about paragraphing for effect. If you've had a little look at my engaging opening video, you will recognise this little piece from the section on getting your reader to ask questions, but I've just made a little development. So let's have a look. The noises from the box grew louder. At first they'd been barely noticeable, but Sally could soon hear the muffled thuds and whirring as clearly as she could hear the clock ticking on the wall. She knew that she would have to open that box at some point, but for now all she could do was stare at it in horror. And then the lid sprang open. So what we've got here is we've got a paragraph, okay, normal kind of paragraph length, and then suddenly, whoop, a 1-sentence paragraph. And I've done that deliberately to demonstrate how sudden this moment is with this box springing open. She wasn't expecting it to, the reader wasn't expecting it to. And then my next paragraph will begin here. I will leave that completely on its own. You can do the same thing with just words. You can have like you can have a 1-word sentence, but you could have a 1-word sentence paragraph if you so wish. Don't do it too often, yeah, because the whole point is meant to have an impact, and if you do it all the time, it loses it. But the odd one, very effective. Structure tip 3, vary those sentences. Okay, this is basic stuff. Make sure that you've got a good variety, but do it in a crafted, deliberate way. So let's have a look at this one. Again, this is from the engaging opening piece about being on a boat in a storm. So another wave crashed over the side of the boat, and for a second I couldn't breathe. So starting with a compound sentence. Salt water stung my eyes, my throat, my skin, followed by a simple sentence. I tried to get hold of something solid, anything solid to keep upright, but my flailing arms met nothing but water, and I lost my footing entirely. A very long, complex compound sentence. My head hit the side. Simple sentence. Everything swam in front of me. Simple sentence. And then darkness. Minor sentence. So we've got a really good variety of sentences, but these last ones, the simple, simple, minor, pack some punch because of the way that they contrast this long sentence that suggests kind of panic and being out of control, and then by the end where we've got this fragment, this minor sentence, it sort of suggests, or it's mimetic of that darkness as she obviously falls unconscious having hit her head. I do have a danger warning here. Beware the dramatic fragments. I've done it there at the end, but sometimes people think that fragments make it sound incredibly dramatic. And if you look at this, all cold, all lost, water sloshing, darkness, cold, then you found me forever. Oh, doesn't it sound tense and dramatic? No. Just sounds annoying, it's really jarring, and I can't kind of get into it because I'm constantly stopping. So use fragments, but sparingly, scarcely. Okay, they're there for a moment of impact. Okay, number 4. Oh, I like this one. Oh, sorry. There we go, now you can see it. Use sentences with parallel syntax. The really fancy term for this is syntactic parallelism, but it's a bit of a mouthful. But basically, the gist is this. It's not about repeating the words, it's about repeating the order of the sentence and the types of words that are being used. These next 2 slides, this one and the next one, are based on some creative writing taken from Dorian Gray. It's in like a little Dorian Gray as a stimulus, so that's why it's a bit dramatic. So here we have, he couldn't face his horror, she wouldn't believe his fate. So very dramatic. But what makes those sentences parallel, if you notice, it goes pronoun, modal verb, verb, possessive pronoun, abstract noun, and then exactly the same here. So even though the words aren't the same, the structure and the word classes are pronoun, modal verb, verb, possessive pronoun, abstract noun. Those are syntactically parallel statements, and they pack a bit of punch. They create drama and tension. And my last tip for you is about crafted repetition. Repetition can be so powerful. This is another bit of Dorian Gray based writing. But doomed, he thought, staring at his reflection in the canvas. The eyes crackled and flared under his gaze. He knew his own fate. His soul was doomed. So I have deliberately, deliberately repeated the word doomed, and I've done it at the beginning and the end of the paragraph, and it makes it kind of cyclical, suggesting that this doom is inescapable. It's going to happen no matter what, because it's at the beginning and it's at the end. It's a really good way of showing your examiner that you are deliberately crafting your choices. What you've got to be careful of is that your repetition doesn't seem haphazard or made in error. You don't want your examiner thinking that you just don't have a very wide vocabulary choice and so have just written bad, it was really bad, and then it got badder. Not that you'd ever do that. So yeah, make sure it is deliberately crafted and put in effective places. So that was 5 structural features to wow your examiner. I do hope you found that helpful. There is another video coming up with language features to wow your examiner, so do stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and then you will get a notification of when it is ready. Thank you so much for watching. Any questions or queries, do just drop me a line in the comments and I will do my best to get back to you. Thank you so much. Happy revising, happy writing.